What is up, everyone? We're back Friday, July 11th, 7-11 day. I didn't even notice that until right now. But here we are. We got the biggest slate of the season so far. We got a 15-gamer. As you can see, I'm not at home. I am out and about today. Got my guy Stats with me, as always, on Friday. What's going on? How was your week? Any big plans for the weekend coming up?
Nothing too crazy. Just the usual. I got some buddies in. I always have someone in town. That's the one thing living in Florida. It's like people are constantly visiting. So I see people more here than I did when I was in New York. So I'll be seeing some people this weekend. And other than that, we're just gearing up. This is the last few games before we get a little bit of a break in MLB.
Yeah, we get this weekend, and then we got the All-Star break next week, kind of reset for the home stretch here. Terry, I'm not in an underground bathroom. I'm actually at a buddy's place. We're doing some drinking games after the show. So 15 games, play some beer pong. It's going to be fun. But since we do have 15-game stats, I think we just got to dive right into it. If you guys have any questions, toss them in the chat as we go along. If you're not a member, join us at Run Pure. We got every sport. We got the British Open next week, UFC. Summer League is actually going on right now. I'm playing some Summer League DFS stats. I know that's your favorite.
Yeah, I saw the Discord popping last night with NBA. I'm like, what? I'm like, NBA?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no. It's already started.
I mean, this is the last time I can play some of my college hero guys, because they're not going to get minutes in the NBA, but they'll play out in Vegas. All right, let's get started here. We got 15 games to go through. We'll start where I used to have season tickets, Oriole Park at Camden Yards. We got Miami at Baltimore, Dean Kramer and Edward Cabrera. Cabrera's been really, really consistent and solid stats. Not the cleanest matchup for him here, but at 7,200, I have some interest. What do you think about Cabrera here?
Yeah, definitely interest in Cabrera. I've got him as the 8th best option on the slate. We've got, it's kind of a good mix here. We've got a few expensive options that are really, really good, and I think we got a few cheaper ones that we can play. I think Cabrera is one of those options. We got several guys here that we're projecting. Most of them are going to be up pretty high on my list for more than a K per inning, and Cabrera would be one of those guys. So I've definitely got some interest in playing Cabrera here, and then it's going to take me a while to find some of these guys with the list today, but Kremer I've got right in the mid pack, not nearly as high, 7,700. It's higher price tag, less strikeout potential. So don't like it nearly as much. He's going to be right around that cutoff line for me. Probably, I don't want to say decent, a few spots below the cutoff line for me on tonight's slate. So it'll be no Dean Kremer for me. But, we talk about Cabrera, and I do like him. I will have him in the mix. A lot of these Baltimore bats are really going to trigger at a fairly reasonable price on most of their lineup. So I do like the Baltimore bats as well, and some Miami bats. I really prefer the offenses in total in this game. So I'm going to like a lot of bats with just a little bit of Cabrera. I don't know. I didn't look necessarily where Saber is on him, but I prefer the bats on the whole in this game. Henderson, Mullins, a lot of these guys under 4K. Mullins under 4K. O'Neill, Westberg, Laureano's at 4K. Holiday. A lot of these guys, they're all under 4K, and I think really 5-man stacks are going to be good with both sides of this game.
Yeah, pretty good hitting weather too in Baltimore here. I have some interest in Cabrera just because, like you said, the strikeout upside is there. And he's going to be pretty low, and I'm seeing 6% on Saber. You said you had him 8th. We got 30 pitchers going on this slate, so that's pretty good. I think he's kind of in the back end of the pool for me, and I'm with you. Like this Baltimore lineup, we haven't really seen them on many slates lately. Stats, they've been playing like the 640 games a lot. I feel, but it's pretty cheap throughout. So we got
and then the rain out. So we haven't seen them.
We've got an affordable Baltimore lineup if you're not on Cabrera. And I kind of like Marlins minis as well. We've seen them really hit right-handed pitching lately. Augustine, Ramirez. awesome power at the catcher spot. He's still cheap. They kind of refuse to price him up. Stats at 3,600 hitting cleanup, big time power there. Stowers and Norby were the two guys that the O's actually traded to Miami last year. So a little interesting spot there. So I think minis for me on the Miami side, Ramirez, Stowers, Sanchez, guys like that. Anything else in this game?
No, I think that's it.
All right, let's go to the next one here. We've got the next one on DK is the Cubs and the Yankees. Really fun series in New York this weekend. We got Carlos Rodon, and it looks like the Cubs are doing a bullpen game here. Stats. Chris Flexen's going to start it off, and then I think they're just kind of play it by ear behind him. Rodon didn't make my cut. We just got, like you said, just an insane level of pitching on this slate. I think, the matchup with the Cubs at that price tag is enough for me to look elsewhere. But do you have any interest in Rodon here? And then obviously we're not playing Flexen.
Yeah, I mean, Rodon, he comes in fifth. I think this is a situation where even at the 10% ownership, and now as I'm staring at it, Sabre just updated to 11%. I think while I will have him in my 150 mix, I do like the Cub bats as a decent leverage play here against Rodon. So I like Rodon small, probably close to that 10%, maybe a little less mark, and then Cub bats for me as a leverage play. Yankee bats are certainly in play. We didn't really talk about Flexen much, but don't have any interest in Flex. Is actually my lowest pitcher here on the slate. So Yankee bats for sure. Judge, Rice, Chisholm, Bellinger, Dominguez are the top options there for Yankee bats. But the Cub bats I think are just as good with Tucker, Suzuki, PCA, and Dansby Swanson, which I think the 3,900 is a really good price there. Speed, power. This is another game I think all the way through we're going bats pretty heavily.
Yeah, the Cubs kind of switched up their lineup today. Have been struggling. They pulled Horner up to the one hole. Carson Kelly hitting cleanup their stats. I kind of like the one-offs and minis against Rodon. He really just gets completely blown up, but Carson Kelly I think is a great play, hitting cleanup here, right on left. And then, like you said, the Yankees against the Cubs here with Flexen starting. I think if it goes bad, they could kind of just punt this game and let a middle reliever just kind of eat a bunch of innings here. So I do like the Yankees a lot in this spot. The guys you want to priced up, but we do have some cheap pitchers on this slate. We talked about Cabrera, we'll talk about Burns. There's a couple that are viable. So I really like the Yankees bats here, and then it's Cubs one-offs and minis for me. And I'm not getting to Rodon. We'll talk about the top end of pitching later, but if I'm going up, I just want to get to those top three guys.
And Escara I think is a good option too at 2,600 catching for the Yankees.
Yeah. All right. Next, we got Tampa and Boston. We got Rasmussen is going to open, and then Joe Boyle will be after that. This is what they did last time. They're just kind of docking Rasmussen's innings, making sure that he's not spoiled for later in the season. And Hunter Dobbins going for Boston here. Not interested in any of in any pitchers here personally. Do you have any interest in the arms here? I didn't get to them. And what do you think about this game overall?
Yeah, not even going to get close to either of the arms in the matchup. I guess maybe all three of the arms that are in this game, maybe that are an option. I'm not going to touch any of them. And then the bats, it's odd for a game that I've got the pitching rated so low. I don't have the bats all that high. They're good, but on a 15-game slate, like good's just not going to cut it. So I've got them at the high boom level. And of course, most of you guys know about the boom report that'll come out after the show, but very few guys at the elite level. So we've got a lot of really good bats in this game. Just don't know if they're going to be good enough. So I'm not going to totally X them out. I think I'll use pieces. I just don't necessarily want to use a lot of 5-man stacks from this one.
Yeah, I'm with you here. Like the reason we're not using the Rays guys is just because of duration, but they are two good arms. So I don't think this is a spot to use Boston, even though we're using them all week. And then Tampa, just because they've been so good, they are priced up now, man. I mean, look at these price tags for the top 5 of Tampa. It's an okay spot, but on a 15-gamer, you just can't play everything. So I'm with you here. I actually don't have any bats. I don't have any exposure to this game at all. So let's keep it moving since we have so many to get to. A game that we are going to like some stuff from in Cincinnati. The Rockies are in town. We got German Marquez and Chase Burns. 7,500 Chase Burns here. Stats, I think before the show I saw over 6.5. K-prop was minus 160 for him. His projection is going to be great. He's going to be volatile because he's young, but man, like you can't really script up a better spot for him here at home. And we're getting a really good price tag on Burns. Where do you have him on your list? Do you have him top 3, 1? What do you like here?
Yeah, I got him number 2. I mean, and that's only because you got, Skubal on the slate. So at that price, it's pretty tough to pass up on. It's a lot of times we talk about it on the show. I like to kind of target sometimes against that pitcher who may not necessarily be a high-end pitcher, but because of the price, they're getting high ownership. I don't think that's the case necessarily here. You've got a guy with a 6.5 K prop, 16.5 outs, which is a little light, but again, young starter. Yeah, that's 7,500 at the 7,500 salary. It's just it's impossible to get off him. So I've got him as my number 2 option. I'll be pretty heavily in. I would not be shocked if he winds up being the highest owned pitcher on this slate because everyone might.
Yeah, I think he's
12K on Skubal. That's a little high, so we'll get some people getting off there for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's not a completely clean matchup just because of the ballpark, but I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to be over the field. I'm seeing mid-30s right now. I'll probably be 50 plus on Burns on this slate. Just going to lean into that K prop. Any interest in Reds bats for you here? Really good spot at home against Marquez and the Rockies bullpen. We do have their lineup. Friedel, McLean, Ellie, Hayes, Steer, I think are my favorites here. They did get Noelvi Marte back. He's going to hit in the 9-hole, but I do like him as a bat too. So I'm in on Red bats here. I don't play them too often, but this is a great spot.
I think, it's a phenomenal spot. Good ballpark, like you said. So, this is going to be one of the best stacks, I think, on the entire slate. I think the team total is up there as one of the higher team totals on this slate. And so I think this is Cincinnati will be heavily owned. I like Ellie. As you said, you didn't mention Benson, who I do like. He's batting down on the bottom of the lineup, but good speed and power there from at the bottom of the lineup, kind of fits in nicely at the 3,900. So I like that bat.
My only issue with Benson is that he does have some pinch hit risk.
Okay.
But if they're running away with this game, they could just let guys stay in. I can see that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
for the most part, I don't think I won't be getting much in the way of Colorado bats at all. I might just X them out. Like I said, a lot of times I do like to play that leverage play against a pitcher, especially a 7,500 pitcher who's going to be getting a lot of attention, but I don't know if it's really warranted here. I mean, if you're going to do it, Toglia and Goodman are your best options with Maniac as well. So those would be my options to play if I'm looking to just kind of leverage against a really high-owned pitcher tonight. But I will not be going that route.
I didn't get there either. There's just a lot of good spots on this slate. I mean, we got 15 games, so it's just not going to be where I go on this slate. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go to Detroit. You mentioned Tarek Skubal earlier. He has not been on many main slates this season, but he is on this one. 12K. We got 8,700 Luis Castillo. Where are you on Skubal here? We don't get to play him very often, but he is one of the only pitchers in baseball with 40-plus upside on every slate.
Definitely has the upside, but you're paying up for it. You're paying 12K here tonight. I've got him as the number 1 pitcher, even at that price. He's our best K per inning guy. I mean, pretty much going to give you the best numbers across the board, at least projection-wise. I think you mentioned the betting markets. He's actually, as I'm bringing it up now, they don't even have him up there right now. On
his K prop when I looked earlier, over 8.5 was minus 110.
Yeah, they took him down for some reason right now on Penny, but but that's where I've got his projection right around 8Ks for on this slate, which is by far the most projected on the slate, and we're looking at like 1.3K per inning. So I don't really have to sell School. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay up to $12K? I don't think you necessarily have to. I think we got a few other options here, and especially with Burns is going to kind of make it a little bit more palatable to punch in one of these more expensive pitchers. But obviously the best pure pitching from a skills standpoint and probably pure projection standpoint, this is the best pitcher on the entire slate. And much like Colorado, I have absolutely zero intention of trying to play some sort of leverage play against him with Seattle bats. I mean, I think this is and we've had to, with all these Colorado road games and everything, I think this might be one of the lowest team totals I've seen so far this year. So I'm not.
What do you have Seattle at right now? 2 something?
I had him under, sub 3. I'd have to bring up. I
mean, if School doesn't get there, it's not because he's getting rocked. It's because he has 20, not 35.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any interest in Castillo. I assume you don't at that price tag either.
No, not at all. It bats and no bats here for me at all in this game.
Same. I got no bats in this one here. All right, we're going to Game 6. Second page of games on DK. Cleveland and the White Sox. This is Game 2 of a doubleheader. We got rained out last night here. I think it's going to storm again here, Stats. I'm not sure if you looked at the weather yet for this game. I'm a bit worried about the weather for this one. Let's talk as if it plays, though. Gavin Williams against Jonathan Cannon. Gavin Williams, talented arm, high strikeout upside, but also big walk rate. I think it's kind of a sneaky, not tough spot because it's the White Sox, but the one strength that the White Sox have against right-handed pitching is a pretty high walk rate, especially since they got Talkman in there and Benintendi back. What do you think about Williams here? And I assume no Cannon for you.
Believe it or not, Cannon actually is actually a little higher for me than he actually came in at 10th just because of the price. So I'll probably just have a sprinkle, and I'm not going to have any Williams, believe it or not. So I've got Williams rated fairly low. The walk rate always scares me with Williams. I mean, he's by far a guy who on this slate, by far the wildest. I guess that would be the classification. Wildest pitcher, the pitcher with the least amount of command. Let's put it that way. It sounds a little smarter on this slate. So he's almost like 0.7 walks per inning, which is just a big number here. So I don't necessarily. We're not going to ever unless they're playing in Colorado again. White Sox bats are rarely are we going to be targeting. The Cleveland side of this game, don't love it either. So maybe some one-offs, Ramirez, Santana, Manzardo, something like that. But don't have a lot of love in this game for either pitcher. I'll have a sprinkle of Cannon, and the bats are a no-go for me.
I was trying to unmute. And we could see some funky lineups here. Have you looked at the weather yet for this one, Stats, or was that going to be after the show?
I looked at the weather for the entire country earlier, and it didn't pop out for me, but I'll take a look at it as you're talking here.
Yeah, I do think that this game has the most risk of any on the slate. I'll say that. So keep an eye on this if you've got some Williams or some Cleveland bats in your lineup, is all I'll say there.
You know what happened last night? I don't know if I'm wrong. I mean, when I looked at it early, an hour before, it wasn't supposed to rain. Like, it wasn't supposed to rain till late.
It looked fine. We were at happy hour, because I'm here in Chicago. We were at happy hour. We had to move inside. It came quick yesterday.
Yeah, it looked like it was unexpected. And once that happened, that window to get the game in pretty much collapsed. Yeah. And I'm looking now as you're talking. I brought the weather up. Yeah, I would say it's definitely iffy.
I think it's pretty dicey here.
I think they're going to play. My gut is right now they're going to play this full game.
Yeah.
But
on a 15 game slate, it's not a good enough spot for me to try to jam in though. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to Houston, Texas, and Houston battle in Texas here. Jack Leiter, Lance McCullers Jr. both under 7K here. We do need some cheap pitchers in our pool. Did either of these guys make your pool here? McCullers has shown some upside, been super, super volatile this year. He is at home, though. What do you think?
Yeah, McCullers will make the cut. Ninth best pitcher for me in the model, 6,600 price tag. I mean, he's better than a K per inning. Don't love the walk rate either from McCullers, but not nearly as bad as what we were talking about with Williams. But he is on the lower end when it comes to walks. But we're only paying 6,600 for a guy with some strikeout upside. I think we could look, hope for 5-6 strikeouts. I think his prop is around 5.5. Don't have it up quickly here in front of me. I have it up now. He is at 5.5 strikeouts. That's juiced to the under. So I'm looking at about 5Ks for him, which is fine at the 6,600 price. And then hold on, it's big list. I'll get that to get down to lighter at the 6,800. I do not have any lighter in, so lighter's going to miss it for me. I've got him as the 19th option on the slate. Bats again, kind of weak, I think, in this game. I would actually prefer. I don't know what the ownership. I got to look here. What do we have on McCullers?
It looks pretty low.
It should be fairly low. So I think it's not the greatest leverage spot either. Although 10, 11%, it's in a similar situation to what we were in when we were talking about it, that Cabrera game. So, but I don't like that one. I like those Baltimore bats a whole lot more than I like the Texas bats in this. So if you're looking for a leverage play, that Baltimore one's a little bit better than Texas. But if you do want to maybe leverage against a pitcher who's going to be, slightly owned, maybe the 7th, 8th, 9th owned pitcher on the slate, Garcia, Berger, Higashioka, pretty cheap, 2,800 catching, and Langford. I always like Langford stealing, stolen bases, home runs, which you get from Garcia as well. So those would be the guys I would look at as maybe secondary stacks and one-offs. But this is going to be a very light game for me.
Yeah, same. I'm going to have some McCullers here. I do have some Texas bats though, just for the same thing that you said. Like, we just seem to go so bad for him when he's not on. Like, he needs that big hook to be on for him to get outs in the major leagues, and you can tell right away when he doesn't have it. So I think Texas bats are at least decent here. I don't have any lighter, but I don't love Houston here. They did get Christian Walker back from the paternity list, which is nice, but no bats for me here. Let's keep it going. Let's go to a game, one of the better pitching matchups of the whole season here. Paul Skeens and Joe Ryan in Minnesota. Where do you have these two arms? Not the easiest matchup for Skeens here, but obviously, top 3 pitcher in the world. And then Joe Ryan has been so consistent. Has actually been better than I thought he was going to be this year. And he's really, really tough on righties. And I think, do we have the Pirates lineup yet? We do. I think there's going to be at least 5 right-handed bats in this lineup. So I think it's a pretty decent matchup for him overall. What do you think?
Yeah, this is easily the best pitching matchup on the entire slate. Both of these pitchers at 6.5 on their K props, with Ryan's actually higher projected. He's got a -145 on his over on that 6.5. So both of these pitchers were expecting decent amount projected points for. Skeen's only 15.5 out, so keep that in mind on his betting props. I've got this as the 3rd and 4th pitcher, with Ryan being the 3rd best and Skeens being the 4th best options on the entire slate. I think their projections are going to be fairly close depending on where you're looking, and what Saber has as well. Both guys high K per inning, 1.15, 1.2 for Skeens, something like that, Ks per inning. So I always like that. Fairly low walk rate. So we're just really expecting low scoring in the game. Can we get any leverage on either one of these pitchers? I would say I'd be very cautious about playing bats in this game. I don't really like any of the leverage spots here. O'Neal Cruz, always a good option at 5K. I never mind taking an elite type of bat like a Cruz in those situations, but those would strictly be one-off type of plays for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to play both these pitchers. Stats, this has got to be the lowest projected ownership we've seen on Skeens on the slate the entire year. 13% is what Saber has right now. I'm going to try to be over on all these top guys. I think Skubal, Skeens, and Ryan are in great spots. Burns is going to catch a ton of ownership, and I think there's enough cheap bats on the slate. I was fooling around with lineups before the show that I think we can get up to, Skubal, Ryan, Skubal, Skeens lineups on this slate. So I'm going to be leaning into both of these guys. Saber's got Skeens at 13, Ryan at 20-ish. I'll definitely be over on that. I think These are premier plays on the slate. And, yeah, no bats for me on either side here. All right, let's go to Milwaukee. The Nats are in town. The pathetic Nationals jettisoned their GM and their head coach this week because their owner refuses to spend money. Hasn't spent any money since the World Series. We've got Mitchell Parker going for the Nats. He's got the worst estimators on the slate here, stats, worst expected ERA, worst xFIP on the slate, and the worst bullpen in baseball behind him here. I think the Brewers are a really sneaky stack on this slate. They've got a team total over 5, and they've got cheap bats in their lineup. I was mentioning the double spend lineups. I think Brewers is a good way to get that to work. I assume you don't have any interest in the pitching here. And what do you think about the Brewers bats on the slate?
Yeah, definitely don't have interest in either pitcher. So it's going to be all bats. And I'm hoping I got this. I'm just kind of looking at my spreadsheet and as lines are coming in. But Vaughn is in there, right, at first? Let's see.
I know he was in the projected lineup. He's do we have that?
We don't have it yet.
The Brewers lineup yet. No.
Yeah, we don't have him yet. But if Vaughn's in there, yeah, that becomes a really strong play. 2,300. I like Milwaukee bats. I like their bats for 5-man stacks. You're looking at the projected lineup right now with Collins at 3,300. So we've got a couple of cheap bats to mix in there with Churio and Yelich. So I think 5-man Milwaukee stacks are the way to go in this game. I'm going to punt both pitchers. Really don't like the Washington bats either. You could always, one-offs. I think Abrams is obviously always a good play. Wood's always good, but I don't necessarily think so in this spot at that price on this type of a slate. There are some other. I do, like I mentioned with O'Neill Cruz, I kind of like playing sometimes the expensive one-off in the right spot. I don't think this is the right spot. I like to do it in a leverage spot, more like an O'Neill Cruz spot there than I would in this situation here. Not that I even love the O'Neill Cruz play, but it's better than Abrams and Wood. So really, outside of that, I'm not looking at much on the Washington side. I think Milwaukee stacks though the way to play this one.
Yeah, dude, I really like. You mentioned Collins projected at cleanup here at 3,300. You mentioned Vaughn. He hits lefties really well. Ortiz has been a really good bat. He's in the 9-hole, but 2,600. I think Brewers is going to be that avenue to the double spend lineups. That's just my take here. About an hour and a half before lock. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to Kansas City. A little bit of weather concern here. I'm not sure if you took a peek. I think it's going to be all right, but something to monitor going up until lock. Mets in town. Kodai Senga makes his return, coming off the IL. Don't think that they're going to let him go very long here, those stats, so he's not in my pool. And then Waka at 7,400, I don't have much interest in here either. Do you like any pitcher here? And then any bats? It is pretty hot and humid in Kansas City today. Really good hitting weather.
Yeah, don't with Senga, don't expect him to go deep as you mentioned. One of the shorter prop or projected innings pitched totals on the entire slate. Waka not going to make the cut for me either. 17th best option. Just not enough strikeouts there. 7,400. We've got better pitching options for even cheaper prices than Waka. So then it just really becomes the bats. And I think Met bats in that hitting environment look really, really good for me. I love Alonso, Soto, Lindor, Nimmo. Those are going to be the probably the 4 best bats in the entire game. All big home run possibilities. Lindor and Nimmo give you a little bit of speed as well to mix in there. I mean, Soto could always swipe a base, but we're looking for the power really out of these Met bats, and those are the 4 that I'm focused on. You can get down then to like a Vientos is going to be really good here at 2,800. And even
I like Mauricio too. He's got some pop.
Don't mind Mauricio either, and you get double position there, so you can kind of help fit him in. He's got pop and stolen base potential, so he's another one of those big Met bats that I like. I'd probably out of the Mets, my least favorite there would be Taylor and Torrance. Other than that, I think they're all in play. So really 7 bats that I like on the Mets side.
Yeah, I'm with you. And our guy Uncle T took my point from me. Really easy to get up to Lindor, Soto, Alonso with how cheap the back half of this lineup is. I also think stats, kind of like with the Brewers. I think they're going to work well for mini stacks with the double spends. Like you play Vientos, Mauricio, Torren, something like that as a 3-man. You're spending $7K on 3 bats. So I really like that too. Any love for the Kansas City side here? I know Senga's on the short leash. Just kind of scared of the Mets bullpen behind him. If they get a lead, their back end guys are pretty fierce. I don't love the KC side, but the weather is good. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good weather. I think that's really one of the few things that would make me take these KC bats. On the whole, just not enough power in this lineup, really. So, outside of Bobby Witt, who gives you both, Vinny P and Sal Perez, those would be the only guys I would even consider, but not maybe just some one-offs. Other than that, I'm not stacking them at all.
Yeah, I'm the same way here. I've got Witt, Vinny P, Salvi, and the rookie Caglianone, who's actually started to show some signs of life after really struggling after getting called up. Big time prospect though. Let's stay in the Midwest. Go to St. Louis. Braves are in town this weekend. We got Grant Holmes and my guy Liberator. I'm not sure if this is the spot for him though. I wanted to see where you landed on him. 8K I think is a little pricey for him in this matchup. Are you on either pitcher here?
Yeah, so Holmes I've got as the 11th option, so he will get in there for my 150 builds. Liberator is going to be right on the border. Probably not at the 8K. I think it's a little pricey. Not enough strikeouts there for me. The projection, just 3/4 of a strikeout per inning, really doesn't get me too excited. So when we look in the betting markets, you got 4.5 Ks, and that's juiced to the under for Liberator, and 17.5 outs projected. Holmes 5.5 with the juice to the under. So not going to be heavy with the pitchers. I think Liberator kind of misses for me, and then
I think he's just more of like a better real life pitcher than a DFS asset at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the question becomes: do we like Atlanta bats?
It is Friday.
It is Friday. We got to play some Atlanta bats. I don't mind Atlanta bats here more. I wouldn't get too crazy with 5-man stacks. I think Riley at 4,200, Murphy at the 3,700 will fit in. Maybe if you need a one-off piece or maybe some secondary stacks. Acuna is really expensive at 6,300, but I do like him as well. And then on the St. Louis side, what was that?
They bumped Michael Harris below Nick Allen in the lineup. That is a tough scene for old Mike Harris. He's really going through it this season.
No, it is not good. And I don't like him at all, or Allen. So I'll keep those guys. It's weird with the Braves are to me it's very top heavy. I kind of like their big bats, and then their bottom the bottom of the lineup guys I don't really care for much. So that's why I'm more kind of leaning at them more secondary type of stacks right now in this game.
I kept
really a 5-man.
I kept 1, 3, 4, 5 in the pool here for the Braves. Any love for the Cardinals here? I just feel like, man, they're just never on the winner. They just don't have any pop as a team,
Yeah, I don't love them. Again, this would be one-offs. Burleson's probably their best option, 3,800 out in the outfield. You got Wynn at short 3,600, and then Contreras. Those are going to be your best plays. Newbar and Arenado, maybe perhaps some sprinkles, but I would use them really more as one-offs, maybe a few secondary stacks, certainly no 5-man stacks. No 5-man stacks here, primary stacks for me on either side.
I'm with you there. I just don't play the Cardinals very often, and on a 15-gamer where we like a bunch of other spots, it's just not where I'm going to get to. All right, let's go up to the West Coast. We got 4 games left. Ryan Nelson up against old nemesis Tyler Anderson, who sometimes just kind of skirts through. He did not do that last time against Toronto. We'll talk about Toronto later. But any interest in Ryan Nelson here? I worry about his duration a bit. He hasn't been above 90 pitches all season. He's coming off 4 really, really good outings, though. I'm just not entirely sure I'm buying into it. It is a boom or bust Angels team, though, that we always talk about. Any interest in him here?
Yeah, man. Love the Angels always because of that boom bust scenario, that the type of lineup that they put out there. But yeah, Nelson's 5.5 Ks. in the props. That is juiced to the under, and we're looking at like 16.5 outs with Anderson, or just 4.5 Ks and 17.5 on his outs. I think Nelson comes in just ahead of Liberatore for me, so I will have some of him. 7,800 price tag, not terrible. Decent as far as what we're expecting on a K per inning basis. Really good control as well, which helps. You just worry, you mentioned it with the Angels. They're boom or bust. So the Angels can, they can put up some numbers against a lot of different pitching because they can hit home runs. So they can put up good fantasy numbers for us. And let me just bring up where I'm at on the just lost my sheet for a second. I'll get it up on what I have here for the Angels. So again, the Angels bats. Now we don't expect a ton of ownership really on Nelson, and typically that's what winds up happening with the Angels is we get them in really good leverage spots. I don't think this will be really a great leverage spot because of the lack of ownership, and we've got so many better pitchers out there. But I think the Angel bats are definitely in play just for what we said. They're boomer bust guys, a lot of home run potential. Trout, Adele, Neto, Ohop, Suarez, those guys, Grichuk. Now I'm mentioning the Arizona guys, but
we like those guys too. Yeah,
I do like those guys. I'm going to give you the Arizona bats in a second, but and Taylor Ward on the Angels side. So I like those 5 guys the most. It's the typical guys here for the Angels with some pop, but I do like Arizona bats, as I started to mention, with Marte up at the top, and then Suarez and Grichuk as well. So really, the Angel bats for me, I like a little bit better, but I don't think you can X out the Diamondbacks either. So I think we've got both of them in play. Angel bats I like more 5-man stacks. Secondary stacks probably a little bit better for Arizona.
Yeah, I think you just have to have some exposure to the Angels pretty much every slate with how they score. It's always home runs. So I like that call. I think Nelson's a decent play too, especially if you're playing a bunch of lineups, just because of the strikeout upside with the Angels lineup. Third highest strikeout rate in baseball against right-handed pitching. Arizona does not have Corbin Carroll in there. Instead, they've got Blaze Alexander, someone mentioned in the chat. 2K flat at second and third. I know he's not going to show up great on the Boom Report, but on a slate where we've got Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, don't mind a 2K flat guy that's starting. Any last words here on this one before we move to the next game?
No, that's it. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there with him. It's not the worst rating. He doesn't have the worst rating.
Yeah, he has some speed. He's got 11 steals in 50 games in the minor leagues this year.
You're gonna have a couple of 2K guys in this game.
Yeah. All right, let's go to San Diego. Robert Suarez is pitching against Ryan Bergert, who is not fully stretched out, coming off 69 pitches and only 3 innings against the Nats last time out. Assume no interest in him. Robert Suarez, man, he is on a heater right now. He's been kind of quietly stats, one of the better pitchers in baseball since starting the season late. 1.99 ERA, 1.01 WHIP, averaging 22 DK a game. Obviously, a really tough strikeout matchup here. He just missed my pool, but kind of hard to argue with how good he's been. Any interest in him here at the 9.2K price tag?
Yeah, he's going to miss for me as well. I think the 4.5K juice to the under in the prop market for a guy over 9K salary is just a bit high. So just not a good enough matchup from a strikeout potential in this one. So I'm gonna be passing on Suarez, but I think the bats are certainly for Philly are certainly a possibility, and they're going to be a little expensive, but I think it's one of the better stacks on the slate. Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Real Muto is where you'll get a little bit of savings there, get down to 3,300, and Castellanos at the 3,900. I think those guys are really the core guys that you're going to be building around. The one thing about this Philly lineup is I don't like a lot of these guys at the bottom. So I really want to focus on those guys I mentioned.
Guys, yeah.
And then Bohm would be the next guy possibly in there. So I think your 5-man stacks are really just from that group of 5 or 6 guys, and I'd leave the rest of those guys alone.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I really like the top 4 or 5 of the Phillies here against Padres pitcher who hasn't really shown much so far. Kind of like what we talked about the Cubs stats. If this game goes south early, you're not facing those top arms in the Padres bullpen that scare you. You're facing a middle reliever for 3 or 4 innings, which is when things can really snowball. All right, we got 2 games left. We are cruising along. I think we're gonna be able to do a dong draft after this one. Stats.
We're on a good pace. There's a lot of crappy games which helped us out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this next one's not crappy, and we might
No.
spend some time on it. Sacramento is back on the slate. Toronto is in town. Toronto, man, what a turnaround they had. Stats. I was actually talking on the Tuesday show with DC. I think it was like late May. They were 5 games behind the Yankees, 8 games behind the Yankees, something like that. Now sitting in first place, and it's mainly been because of their lineup. 5th in weighted runs created plus, lowest strikeout rate in baseball, 2nd in weighted runs created plus over the last 2 weeks. They're up against Severino here, who has just gotten shelled in this park. Terrible fit for him. And then Max Scherzer on the other side. Interested to hear what you say about him. A's high strikeout rate, but really, really tough park, obviously, for him. What do you got here?
Yeah, so I mean, Scherzer. Let's just start with Severino. We could be quick there. Just not going to place any Severino. Don't like much in the way of anything that we're looking at, and certainly not the strikeouts with a potential to give up just a ton of runs. So let's pass on Severino. Scherzer, though, I've got some interest in. I've got him as the 5th best option on the entire
K-prop
slate.
is surprisingly high here.
That's a good K-prop, 5.5 juice to the over. We're not, they're heavily juiced on the outs to basically minus 200 on 14.5. So it is a low number, but it is heavily juiced to the over. So that's what we're going to worry about with how deep we can get with Scherzer. I think that's of all the top pitchers, he's got the lowest projected for me innings or outs number. So I think we're a little capped on how high we can get, but at the 7K,
the price tag
we're just looking for something strong here. If he can get to 20, which he can, I think that's plenty good enough for us. And I think Scherzer could get there. So I do like Scherzer. He's going to be owned about, or at least Sabres looking at about 15%. I do think this is one of those situations, though, where we can play some athletic bats, and this becomes a good leverage play, I think, against the starting pitcher. Just one of those metrics that we have on the boom sheet. I think this is probably the best option is playing Atlanta bats. Now, Toronto bats, I think, are kind of go without saying. The Toronto lineup, that what was the total? Over 6 is the team total. This is the highest on the slate. So obviously we're going to be interested in Toronto bats. Springer, Barger. Is it Barger or Barger?
It's Barger. Yeah.
Barger. I've heard his name in person, but God knows I can't remember anyone's name.
Well, you've been hearing his name on the broadcast hitting bombs a lot lately. He's been great.
I mean, when I saw him, he just came up when I saw him, and I'm like, man, this guy just swings.
He is going for the downs
he swings hard,
swing, which is what we want. He's going to rate well on the boom report with that swing.
Yes, no doubt about it. So he's always one of the better options. He's one of these guys that's over 20% probability to hit a home run tonight. So so we like that. So yeah, the Toronto bats in play, but I think the interesting thing is it the A's bats. I think A's bats are a really nice leverage play tonight in that ballpark. I think if you're looking to take a low-owned,
look at these ownerships on the A's bats.
It's
here.
Yeah, it's brutally low. I think this is where if you're looking for low-owned, this is where you got to go.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I mean, this is like a classic. The projection is there for Max, but if you ask me who has the projection on the slate that's good that I don't entirely get behind, I think it's him in this park against this lineup that does have power. I'm right there with you. I think the A's are the best leverage stack of the slate. They're expensive, so you're probably going to have to play Burns and another 7K pitcher, but that's fine because, there are several of them that we've talked about on this slate. So I'm right there with you. I really like Toronto. Talked about it. Are there any bats besides Barger that you're really into? I know Bichette usually doesn't rate as high on your boom report, probably because of his lack of consistent power.
He's going to rate high today.
He is today.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We don't have their lineup yet. I will say there's some pinch hit risk in the bottom of this order. Will Wagner is probably coming out at some point in this game, but he's cheap enough that I think it's fine either way. And we might get Jimenez starting. He's, I believe, free at second base. So if you can't tell, Stats, I've been clicking through Toronto teams trying to find who to play at second base.
Yeah.
Because if Jimenez doesn't start here, they are not going to have
We don't have one.
second base. So I think that's an interesting point here. On the A's, look out for their lineup. I think we're going to get Jacob Wilson back in there, Stats, tonight. That just strengthens the top half of their lineup. So I'm right there with you. I think this is a great game all around. And if these ownerships are correct on the A's, one of the better spots on the entire slate, I think.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think it's a really good leverage spot.
Oh, we just heard that the A's lineup just dropped. I actually want to pull that up since it's an important spot on the slate. They're saying no Wilson in the lineup. So we got Larry Butler, Rooker, Kurtz, Langoliers hitting cleanup. Love that. Soderstrom and Duhar, Muncy. Geloff is going to be cheap, and then Clark is starting. So, yeah, I mean, it's the lineup that they usually have without Wilson. I really like that call on A's bats here. All right, let's go to the last game of the slate. Out in San Francisco, cooler weather out there per usual. Logan Webb, who has just been dialed in all season. The strikeout rate has ticked up this year. Goes against the Dodgers, who stats have been really struggling of late. I think Freeman's playing through an injury. I think Teoscar is coming back tonight, though. They're really missing Max Muncy in that lineup. Having to start Miguel Rojas and, James Outman and guys like this, Conforto every day, starting to take a toll because Freeman and Betts just are not hitting right now. But it's still the Dodgers. What do you think about Logan Webb here? We've got Dustin May, who is going to be volatile, but coming off a good outing in that park, I think is at least reasonable at 7,300. I kind of like both pitchers here. What do you think?
I've got Webb seventh overall. 9,700 is a little high, especially in the waters that he's swimming in here around these guys with just much better K per inning projections. So that kind of limits him here for me. In the betting market, he's 5.5 Ks, and that's pretty evenly spread out on the juice with 18.5 outs, juice to the under, but that's the highest out total on the entire slate. So that's kind of lifting him up here. We're expecting, he's a guy that just really doesn't walk many batters. Should get a decent way into this game. We expect him to get at least into the sixth inning, which is further than just about everybody but Scooble is projected to be. So that's really what we're looking at. But we're going to have to get some strikeouts here in those innings for him to pay off at the 9,700 price tag. May, for me, I will not have any May. I know some people do like him here. I get it. I think the projections as far as runs in this game are not terrible. The 4.5 strikeouts is not awful. It is juiced to the under. And we're looking at 16.5 outs in the betting market. I just think his upside and the way the model works is really looking for strikeout upside and the innings upside. And I think it's kind of capped here with May. So he's not going to make the cut for me. I will not have any Dustin May, but
I think he's kind of a guy that people think is better than he is. He's had some really tough arm injuries. The velocity's down. Kind of see that he's just kind of not the prospect that he was when he came up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a lot of hoopla behind him when he came up, and I don't know if he necessarily has lived up to all that hype, but I don't expect today to be the day that he does something phenomenal. So I'll be passing on him, but I don't like the bats much at all in this game either. For a game that, I mean, Webb obviously is one of the better pitchers on the slate from just pure pitchers, so that's gonna keep us off the Dodger bats. But San Francisco bats, I don't particularly love either. So there's just too many better options in this game. I'm going to pass on the bats.
All right, that's all 15 games. I do feel like, Stats, for having so many games, I feel like we have a fairly narrow pool today for how many spots there are overall. Yeah. Do you have that same feeling?
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how the slate plays out, but I think from a build standpoint, it's like it's 15 games, but I feel like I've got a better idea of the direction I want to go than maybe sometimes when I've got 8 or 9 games out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's good or bad for us, but
I'll let you know in about 5-6 hours.
Yeah, right. All right, let's do a quick dong draft. We didn't do one last week. I'll let you go first, and I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to pick. So if you don't, I'm taking him.
Well, because you're looking down at like these sub 3,500 guys, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy that I think you should pick.
All right,
I already have him written down as you drafted him. So
you ready? You just put me on. No, I don't think. Yeah, whoever you're thinking is probably not who I'm thinking right now. That's you know what? Maybe it will. Maybe I'll go. I'll go with Toglia, Colorado. Is that who you took? All right, yeah, I was contemplating that too. Yeah,
Andrew Vaughn. All right, so we'll give you Toglia. I'll take Vaughn. You go ahead and go again.
I'm gonna go Christian Walker.
Christian Walker, fresh off having the kid. I'm gonna stay with the Brewers and go with Joey Ortiz, another cheap guy who's gonna go yard for us for under 3,500.
All right, then I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead. You got 2 picks, right?
And then I'll stick with the cheap guys. I'm gonna go with Mark Vientos, who I feel has not hit a fucking home run the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
But we need cheap guys to go yard for us because I want to play skoo ball tonight. So I'm going with Vaughn, Joey Ortiz, and Mark Vientos. Who do you got for your last one here?
I will go with give me another 3,500 guy in Jesus Sanchez.
That was going to be the other guy I was going to pick, so I love that. All right, before we get out of here, let's quickly do a recap of just kind of the overall slate thoughts. Start with you with pitching. I feel like we have a fairly condensed pool, like we were saying. Who are going to be your most important arms tonight?
Yeah, I think even with Burns being as high owned as he is, I think he's still going to be important. So I'm going to probably get over on Burns. I could see getting. I think maybe you're leaning on the Ryan and Skeens getting over the market on those guys. I could see that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get to Scooball Skeens on my main. We'll see how these cheap guys shake out. We'll see what that Toronto lineup looks like. So I'm going to go Scooball Skeens, and then obviously I'm going to have a bunch of Chase Burns here. I'm right with you. I mean, a 19 projection at 7,500 is something that I'm just going to lean into. I think you're in the same boat there. Let's do stacks. Do a like a main stack, and then something that's a bit more under the radar here.
Well, I think the Toronto stack I think is the easy one as a main one, but I hope I'm not stealing your thunder with the Athletics, but I think the A's are going to be a really good under the radar stack here tonight. So basically game stacking.
Yeah, I really like. I'll go with the 2 stacks we talked about that have the cheaper bats, since I do want to pay up. Talk about the Brewers. I really, really like the spot for the Brewers. I think they're going to go overlooked on the slate against, statistically the worst arm and the worst bullpen on the entire slate. So I really like the Brewers here. And then you mentioned the Mets earlier. If this game looks good to go, I like the Mets bats. We've seen Kaufman do this time and time again in the summer when it gets hot there. Games can really nuke. So I do like the way this Mets lineup stacks up. Like Uncle T said, the back half of the lineup just so cheap, easy to get the studs that you want in there. Any last slate thoughts here before we wrap up? What do you got for the people on the way into the weekend?
I think that's it, man. I think just on a big slate like this, large slate like this, I think we've got it pretty laser focused. So I'm expecting some winners here tonight. I think we'll have some pretty good screenshots to share with everybody.
I'll be texting you the screenshot about midnight my time, hopefully. All right, everyone. Thanks
I'll be in another world.
Yeah, right. Same. Thanks for dealing with the noise in the background. I'm going to go hang out with the guys. Stats, have a great weekend. Everyone enjoy the games, the golf this weekend, everything that's going on. We will see you next Friday. See ya.